Welcome into another edition of the Sunbelt Syndicate, the 3B podcast, focusing on baseball with where we are with you from the first kick to the last pitch. Marv, I've all Louisiana'd out today, so
nice gear, man.
Yeah, so Chris Tassin hooked us up, man. He was commenting on the last show, saying, "Hey, let me know. I can get you some gear." So we also saw that Louisiana Hot Stuff was doing. I think that's the store's name. Down there doing like really discounted hats. So we had to take advantage. We get the shirt to go with the hat. So Raging Cajuns of Louisiana right there. I have been to Lafayette before on 2 occasions, both for football, not for baseball. So I also went with the cup today.
There you go. You are
Raging Cajuns on the cup.
You're now mayor of Lafayette, whether you
honorary Cajun of sorts, maybe. Oh, look who's jumping in, man. Artie Cat. Hey, guys, 5 Sunbelt teams in the tournament. Absolutely incredible. Marv, let's just go ahead. Well, before we start there.
I'll say before that, I did not see 5 teams coming. You and I were texting before. We kind of did our sleeper picks last week, Louisiana and Texas State, which Louisiana obviously made it to the championship game. I thought Texas State had done enough to sneak in, but the Troy pick really surprised me, man. But, hey, love to see it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think part of that, we'll get into some of the details, but I do, to me, Texas State surprised me a little bit more because I felt like they had to probably get to the championship game type of thing. But hey, I'm happy regardless. Like, sends them out on a high note for baseball. It's not like, I don't think in the end we got 5 teams in. I don't think there was like a team that got in that was leaving one of our teams out. If anything, it was somebody else. Like we know SoCon only got 1 in. There was another baseball conference that was pretty good throughout the year that only got 1 in. We got 5. I mean, this actually helps us ring true with the argument that we consistently make, Marv, which is we are one of the best baseball conferences in all of the country. This is like, hey, the other people are noticing, other people are believing it at this point. And that's why we went naming this show Sunbelt. But if you see it visually, it's a 5 instead of an S, as you see with, people doing it with the license plates and other thing. I shout out to a guy on Reddit who gave me the idea. Nice. Once I went on there to brag about all 5 teams that had made it with their graphics that we shared all around. He just put simply these 2 words, just like this. And I said, ooh, I like that. Yeah, definitely stealing it. I thank him for it. I wish I could credit him by name, but I forget exactly what his username was. But yes, it was a cool thing for him to do to give me the idea for this show and what we're looking at here. But yeah, 5 teams in. Yeah, go ahead.
Out looking outside the SEC or ACC, did any other conference get 5 teams in?
That's a good question. Honestly, didn't. I don't think so. But I didn't do the math on all that. I'll see if I can pull it up while we're going.
Yeah, I'm Google searching it right now.
Okay. Well, while you Google search that, let's bring up our picks. We'll start off the fun stuff. We did a pick for every game in the tournament. Not all of them were always updated when there was like a game thrown in later because it was determined who was going to play who. Sometimes the game was thrown to the next day. Trust me, I asked the guys every time we had a game. A couple times they said, I'm picking with Southern Miss in both games today, no matter who they play later. Same thing with the Cajuns a couple times. So that brings us to the end. And so we see after the Sunbelt tournament in Montgomery, who ended up on top. Surprise, surprise. Marv over there, 11-6. Now, Marv, I believe you started off like not too hot, right? Or is that Seth that did that?
Yeah, it was Seth. I think I stayed slightly above 500 until like the last couple of days and kind of pulled away.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think it was Seth maybe that started like 1-4 or something like that then. Okay. So you didn't flip the script. You just kind of stayed consistent throughout. I started off really hot. I was right with you, I think, tied after the first day or so. And then I had an awful day. I think there was like a day where I missed like all 4 games in the day I think I missed, which set me off on the wrong course. Seth ended up jumping up and beating me in the end, even though he didn't get the championship game correct. That was going to be our tiebreaker, by the way, if you guys both had tied in record.
If you remember earlier in the day, I said, hey, I might take the Cajuns in the championship game if they make it. And then they made it. And Seth and me was like, I'm taking Cajuns. I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I don't hate that. I'll take Southern Miss. They probably considered the favorite. So worked out in my favor, because if he would have gone the other way, because he got to you first, I would have had to go the opposite and we would have tied.
Right. Well, and it does, it gives us credence because we both chose Southern Miss before this tournament ever started too, right?
We did.
Said they were the number one team for a reason. They were the favorite for a reason. Yeah, no, it was pretty obvious. Although I will say, give full credit. I'm wearing Cajun stuff. We're going to have your stuff in the mail tomorrow. And Seth's going to have his hat as well. But they didn't give up, man. I mean, that game was over by everyone's definition, and they kept putting runs on in the ninth. And I think a couple people on the Eagles side, Golden Eagles side, was like, what's happening here? Like, this should have been over. This game was over. It was done. Like, what, but it was a 4-run game. It wasn't like they cut it to 1. But it was a little dicey for them. And honestly, we could talk about this. Southern Miss had a game like that against Troy, right? I think they went into the ninth. If I'm again off the top of my head, I think they were down 3-0 or 4-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just explode. I mean, first of all, just an amazing way that played out, right? They were down to their final out, bases loaded. Guy comes up to bat. He's had some good hits. He's had some home runs, but he wasn't like the hitter. He wasn't the guy that they probably would have chosen to be at the plate. Barrett there, Dre Barrett, I believe his name is, and jacks a grand slam to walk it off in a tournament setting. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than that.
No, that's got to feel amazing. They had a game the next day, did they not?
Yeah. Were they the ones that I think they did. I think they played Troy the next morning.
Okay. Because if they didn't, then that man should have had a lot of beers after that, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But they probably didn't play Troy the next morning because they that's who they beat. So
answer the earlier question.
Yeah.
The Big 12 conference got 6 teams in.
Okay.
So Sunbelt's the 4th, but outside of a couple teams, I'd put every Sunbelt team up against the Big 12 and say, hey, let's play they do like the ACC SEC challenge or the Big 10 ACC challenge in basketball. Yep. Let's do that in baseball and see who's better.
Oh, I'd love something like that. We talked a little bit about like a structure. I think this was the show that you and Seth missed and TJ jumped on, but I believe and you'll remember this from basketball days, like bracket busters.
Yes.
Like RPI busters at the end, right? Like, okay, we realize only one of you is going to benefit from this game, but we're going to match you up kind of regionally and get like the resume boost that one of you needs badly, right? Like, let's say it is a SoCon team or a Big South team that needs a resume builder. They don't have any ACC or SEC teams left on their schedule for the last week or two of the season. Man, I think that would be really, really cool. Marv, I don't know how you feel. I feel like college baseball has jumped up and become a little bit more prominent. Maybe it's because we're doing this show, getting in front of more people, but I feel like a lot more people are watching it and caring about it.
Well, it's 100% because of us. Let's just face it, right? The Sunbelt Conference 3B podcast is carrying the national prevalence of college baseball. But I mean, listen, college baseball is just fun, right? Like, yeah. You know me, I'm a much bigger fan of every college sport than pro sports. But college baseball is just so much fun, and there's a lot of really good baseball out there. If you pay attention, I mean, it's like we talk about all the time. People are like, Sunbelt. Go watch any Sunbelt Conference series on the weekend, and you're like, holy crap, that's really good baseball. So yeah. I think it's a great idea. I don't know how you would be able to schedule that out. I guess you just do like basketball does. It's like, hey, you have an open date, and we're just going to fill that with your closest regional rival that also has a high RPI that might be a bubble team. That would be phenomenal. Or you could do early in the season before you get into your conference slate, do a Big 12 Sunbelt Challenge where it's like, hey, half the teams are home, half the teams are away. Y'all just go play baseball against each other and see who's superior. I think it would be nice to see other teams that you typically don't play in a structured environment like that, where it's like, hey, like it's a chance to boost your RPI. It's a chance to travel to a place you might not get to travel to, maybe create a rivalry or whatever it is. But it's a cool idea, man. Call the commish. Tell them to make it happen.
Yeah, I love it. To the top Talk guys. I was listening to their show. I didn't get all the way through it, unfortunately. It was really cool. They just have like a sit down chat. Like they even described it as they were going in, like we're just at a bar chatting. And that's what it was, like fireside chat. It was awesome. But they alluded to the fact that it was kind of funny that Commissioner Gill was like out there in shorts presenting the trophy, like just like a random dude, almost like the way he looked. I don't have any problem with it, but it was kind of funny. Like I didn't really think much of it at the time. In fact, I probably thought more of the fact that he had a hat on than the fact that he was wearing shorts. It's pretty hot and humid in Montgomery. They also were saying, and I don't know how many people that are watching or listening went to Montgomery for the tournament ever in general or specifically this year, but they alluded to the fact that number of locations restaurant wise said they just didn't know this was happening. They weren't aware, they weren't ready, they weren't prepared with staffing for getting people food in a timely manner. That there was one Mexican restaurant that apparently did do a really good job. But they say that, the city setup wise, like walking distance to restaurants and places to eat and do a few things is actually pretty good. But it seems like possibly the sunbelt kind of let everybody down by not working better with the community and like, hey, we're at a big event. You don't have to do anything, but we're just kind of giving you some idea. Like this could be a revenue boost this weekend if you're prepared and ready with the staff. I don't know, how often people do go out and outreach to the community, but I would assume that they should be vaguely aware. I mean, this isn't the first time or the last time the tournament's going to be in Montgomery.
I would much like the basketball tournament, I would love to see the Sunbelt pick a different site for the baseball tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I think Pensacola every once in a while would be great, right? I mean, it's a kind of a little bit of a destination.
We have 0 teams in Florida. Like the footprint doesn't exist. I understand the Alabama thing. We've got tons of teams in Alabama, but there are more accessible cities. And I think there's better sites. I mean, you and I have talked about it, like Atlanta makes a ton of sense. Anyone can get there.
True. And it's a hotbed for people who are trying to find things to do. And if you're not charging SEC prices for things, you're probably going to do decently. And again, we have names in this conference that carry weight. Who's not going to want to go see Southern Miss, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana, Texas State? And I mean, let's just use those 5 that have made the field this year. Those have typically been some pretty good baseball programs for longer periods of time than some of the other ones. But then you've got Georgia State right in there, right? They're about to get a new baseball facility next year. I mean, everything's kind of looking up. I think it does make sense. I've even heard someone shout out Chattanooga.
Yeah.
A little bit of a stretch, right? But possible.
As an App State fan, I have some very fond memories in Chattanooga.
Yeah, and I think it's a cool town. Actually, having been to Chattanooga for other reasons a couple times, like it's a decent town. It's got a minor league park that could host this type of thing. I just don't mind moving it around. And people say, "Well, go back to on campus sites." I don't think you have to do that to be successful. But moving it around to have more people be able to access it. There's not going to be a ton of people that can make Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games during the week when you have to drive hours to get there. If it's 2 to 3 hours, maybe. And certainly on the weekend, if their team's in it, maybe they'll make the chance. But they're not going to do an 8-hour trip last minute because their team suddenly made the championship game, right?
The defending champion should host the following year. Just going to that out there.
That would be cool.
You got to think about it. It doesn't matter what day it is. Southern Miss is playing on a Wednesday at the Pete, packed. And they're going to stick around and watch other games too. Coastal, right. If Coastal, same thing. Like, I think it incentivizes teams to everybody wants to win, right? But like, that's a hell of an incentive to win the tournament. It's like, okay, next year for the tournament, we don't go anywhere. You got to come to us. You got to play through our home ballpark if you want to take home that trophy.
Yeah, I do like that. I don't dislike that at all. In fact, I like that for basketball even too, right? Like, why not? We've seen, unfortunately, like you just alluded to, Pensacola is not a hotbed for a lot of people to show up for college basketball at a last minute venture. No. But if you have the team that was good last year, there's a likelihood they would be good again the next year and be able to be rewarded by being the host. Correct. And again, if you did that, you would know well ahead of time exactly where it's going to be, and people can start prepping and making plans. So it's not like, well, we didn't know where it was going to be this year. No, as soon as the season's over, so that could be kind of cool. I like that. RDCast saying it should be different locations, medium-sized cities, and promote it. Yeah, that's the kind of constant thing here. For several things and for several reasons, the Sun Belt could do a better job promoting itself, its teams. We'll see if that stuff starts to happen. There's been plenty of people who've come up with ideas, thrown it out there, tagged the Sun Belt in things. We've kind of jumped on board on a couple of those things. One real easy thing, Marv, we both agreed on this previously, I believe. Announcers must be at the stadiums, right?
That would be that just makes sense. Who would think of something crazy like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when the guys are clueless like we are. I don't know if that ball bounced and went for, 2 bases instead of a home run, but
yeah,
they don't either.
God, the opening hit of the opening game.
Yep.
Maybe it was an app game. And it was like, and that ball's a ground rule double. It's like, no, he caught that one. It's like, oh, there's birds in the outfield. It's like, whatever you say, man.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Actually, we'll jump back to this. We got some comments from off, so we'll put them on more of a full screen. Frank's jumping in saying rare occurrence, but having a backup location for weather to catch back up off schedule paid off this season. Curious what other league locations have backup spots. That was great. I honestly think it wouldn't be a bad thing to do that permanently, right? Like, let's think about this. If you have 2 locations, instead of playing at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., depending on Eastern or Central time, now you can play both those games at like noon, and then you can have 2 games at 5:30, or essentially allowing more people to get to games later in the day.
Yeah,
because I don't think people are going to jump up and travel over. Now, if the gate doesn't matter, and you're just saying, well, it doesn't matter if anybody shows up, we've got whatever contract money that ESPN has alluded to us for, allotted to us for this tournament. I don't know, but it can't be crazy, right?
I don't know. It's logistically it worked, but it could be a nightmare.
I guess that's true. If you do get backed up, then you got a lot of other stuff. And, I think the thing though with Troy was the artificial turf, which Montgomery does not have.
Yeah.
So that is one big, Hickory could be a good location. It's kind of like the Crawdad Stadium is minor league, but big enough to host this tournament for sure. There's technically an airport in Hickory. You can fly right in and out. So
I'm gonna stick with my defending champion gets to host. That's my bright idea for the day.
No. I do like that. Ben's rest in peace, Kyle Busch. Yeah. He had a little attachment to App State. Drove the App State car in a couple of NASCAR races too.
I remember that.
Yeah. I have both of them on my desk at work. I have meaning to like dust them off and get a good picture of both of them, since what happened did happen, but unfortunately, no longer with us there. Frank says also the double play feature that came in from it this year. Yeah. And then like the one nice thing that I liked, and it doesn't always work out like this, but on the championship game, both teams had lost a game. So it was like one and done. We knew there was no possibility of like having to play 2 back-to-back, anything like that. Or he says calling this game from my bed. Yeah, those 9 a.m. games too early, in my opinion. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you. There's nothing better to me than waking up, having coffee, doing a little bit of work in the office, and be like, "Oh, baseball's on." This doesn't suck.
I will say though, like I don't know how many times I tuned into the early games, and there was like 0 people in the backstop, and it's like, how hard is it to play in that atmosphere, right?
I mean, when you're used to playing, most of the time on Sunday, you're playing at 1:00, but you got to think college athlete, right? Especially the guys from the East Coast that are playing in the Central Time Zone. So it's already an hour early. You're waking up at 7, getting to the ballpark at like, probably waking up early than that so you can have, food and everything. It's an early morning, but, when you're walking between the white lines, you got to be ready to play.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what time it is.
No, definitely does not. Artie Cat saying Durham Bull Stadium would be a cool place. I mean, Durham Bull Stadium is a great minor league ballpark, one of the best routinely from a lot of people who follow minor league baseball. I would just say, actually, it's a decent location for a number of teams. JMU, App State, Coastal, and ODU are all within like a 3-4 hour drive.
Yeah, a little far from the Western teams.
Exactly, yeah. But there's not going to be anything that's going to be perfect. Like you said, Marv, probably the best like centralized location for every single team is Atlanta for the most part. So, but again, we'll see what happens with that down there. I think they have the contract for Montgomery goes a while longer. So
several more years.
Yeah. But yeah, Articat, just cool, unique places. Yeah. I mean, I think that would be a draw, right? Like, oh, we've never been here before. This is a great minor league park. You know, we could kind of see it for a number of reasons, but we'll see what happens there. Most fans were sitting above the view of TV in the shade. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was hot and it was humid. Even with the rain coming, it didn't really get all that cool there. So that was one reason that a lot of people were not seeing. Also, apparently, some of those seats up there are kind of cool to see because you do have a really good vantage point of the field. So 5 more years in Montgomery, Chad says, is the official word on that. So that is a long time. I guess nothing's going to change before then. All right, Marv, you took the overall in the tournament. You took the overall in the series for the season at 33-49. Doesn't sound great, but again, if you don't get it exactly correct, it's wrong. So I think that's actually really impressive. Standings?
It's subpar, but it is hard, right? It is super hard to do it. But if that was your record as a coach, you get fired. But the fact that I beat you guys is all I really care about.
Yeah, and I struggled to say whether myself or Seth finished second. I did best him in the series outcomes with 31-51, 31-51 record. Seth was pretty bad this year, unfortunately for him, and 25-57. That one's ugly. But the reason I put him ahead of me is because his overall record, and Marv, your overall record was 189-57. Pretty good.
To quote the great Ricky Bobby, I'm the best. That's all there
is. Well, that's what's so funny here, right? So Seth finished way behind me as far as series picks are concerned. Not way behind, but, a number of games, a comfortable win for me there. But he beat me in the overall. He was 178-68 total. I was 173-73. So just 100 games above 500 there. But, I guess that's how you'd say that, right? 100 games above? Yeah, because 73-73 would be 500. All right. It sounds better when you say it that way, but it doesn't look that good when you look at it compared to your guys's. But those were the picks. So, Marv, a 2-time champion. You were the champion of last season as well, correct?
And the year before that, if we're, just being honest about things. That's a three-peat. And, I'll take my money and we'll go home.
There you go. You just got you give the LeBron thing, not 1, not 2, not 3.
Please never quote me with that guy ever again.
All right. Well, I wanted to jump to the conference standings because it's kind of interesting how it played out. But first, let's look at the 5 teams that made the field after the sunbelt tournament. Texas State, Coastal Carolina, Troy Trojans got a little redemption for last season when they probably should have been in the field. Southern Miss and Louisiana. So again, those 5 made it. They are all on the left side of this conference standings, as we know, no east-west. But it's interesting to kind of see some teams up there above some of these teams in our standings, and they weren't even really all that close to making the field. App State being the one that sticks out the most, finishes 3rd in the conference due to tiebreakers because they tied with Troy and South Alabama. But that RPI crushed them, right? 101's not going to get you in the field. And you'd have to win the tournament.
Then you lose your first 2 games back-to-back in the tournament, and it was done.
Yeah. I'm going to jump off schedule here. Chris jumping in. Yeah, he says that shirt looks good on you, Dom. I appreciate it, man. Some really good gentlemen gave this one. Marv will be sporting his soon. Probably out on the baseball diamond, Marv. You'll probably get some comments from wearing that thing around, I would think.
I'm going to wear it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think you'll get some looks, some comments, some people going, "Oh, Cajun fan, that," and you could be like, "Yeah, definitely, big Cajun fan." So
no, I'll just plug the podcast real quick and be like,
"There you go." Yeah, man, we don't dislike that. But yeah, so App State 3rd place, not making the tournament though. at least NCAA tournament. It's just kind of funny that I saw an App fan ask, like, someone who knows baseball, explain to me how App was third in this conference. We had 5 teams make it, but they weren't even considered. RPI, it's pretty much a simple thing. And like we said, Marv, we knew going into this tournament, App had to win the tournament to make it.
I thought they at least had to make the finals to even be in consideration. Obviously, winning the tournament, you get the automatic bid. But, just a terrible RPI. You and I did the I did the Chat GPT thing. Like, what if you could change games? What would it look like? And there was a bad sweep that we took early in the year. And then, not winning a game against Coastal. And then if they would have won one of the games against Duke or Wake Forest, which were very close games, but still, I think even with those scenarios, going 0-2 in the conference tournament doesn't help. But I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, RPI is way more important than anyone wants to give it credit for, right? So you look at South Alabama, who was tied with Troy, had a better record with Troy going in, 60 RPI. They don't get in, Troy gets in. And then, the Cajuns and Texas State with RPIs in the 40s just helps.
Yeah, absolutely does. Like your point made, South Alabama also not in there. I thought that was one of the teams that could have snuck in had they performed better in the tournament too, right? That's a team that maybe jumps in instead of Troy or instead of Texas State. Didn't
Troy knock South Alabama out of the tournament?
Yep. So
you got to think, had that gone the other way, is Troy sitting at home in South Alabama in?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So I mean, the only other talking point I feel like we could have is like, look at Arkansas State over there. Did not finish good in this conference overall. Overall record, not going to blow anybody away at 29-24, but their RPI was good. I mean, I don't know if this was the final one, because obviously there was games played after our conference went final, but they had sat previously at 58, which was better.
But they missed the conference tournament.
Right.
That's the dagger, right? Had they made the conference tournament, because if you look at it, 29-24, you go over there and look at Troy's record, 29-27. So had they made the conference tournament and won a couple of games, you don't want to play the theoretical what if game, but you almost have to.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. Yeah, Chris was jumping in saying the Cajuns back in the top 25, sneaking in there at number 25. So I just wanted to check that, where Southern Miss is sitting at 7 and Coastal has fallen all the way out. That's what's going to happen when you end the season.
Coastal
stumble.
Coast.
3-11.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, that is a rough look there. Well, hopefully they can jump back. But let's get into some of these regionals as we see. Unless you got any more notes on the Sunbelt Championship before we move completely on, anything you wanted to say there?
No, I mean, I think it was a really good tournament. I think there's 3 teams that earned their bid during the tournament.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true, and shows why performing there can be so important, and also getting that best seed you can before getting there, right? Like, we saw how close we had a couple tiebreakers, at least one tiebreaker that included 3 teams. Important to win all those series against even the lesser teams. You don't drop a game if you don't have to, because that could be the difference maker at the end of the year. So interesting there. Frank saying it, RPI for Arkansas State really surprised him. Kudos to the Red Wolves regular season. Yeah, again, just barely missing out on the tournament. It would have been interesting to see, had they made it, what that would have done to the field. Could they have been one of the 5 and knocked somebody else out? But obviously we know that is not what happened. Chris saying great tournament with great games. Absolutely. Artie Cat's got a little pro game note for us. Congrats to Arizona Diamondbacks Corbin Carroll, second player, 537 games in Major League history, just behind the legendary Lou Gehrig to reach 80 home runs and 50 triples, which was set back in 1929.
That tells me is Corbin Carroll's very fast.
Yeah, a triple. I feel like a triple is even harder than a home run to some extent, right? Like, you got to hit and get there.
Yeah.
Whereas you hit a home run, you
got to bust out of the box, and it's got to be in the gap. Because those major league outfielders have absolute cannons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even some of these guys in college level now, I'm like watching it, I'm like, that's a pro throw. Like, that's that's a pro arm from the outfield like that. So really impressive stuff. All right, let's get to some of these regionals, Marv. The first one we have up, and they're not in any specific order, to be totally honest with you here, is the Gainesville Regional. For those of you that don't know, the University of Florida resides in Gainesville, so they are the host team here in this one. They finished with an RPI of 11 and a strength of schedule of 2. I know a lot of us were hoping that Southern Miss would be one of the top 8 seeds. Obviously, the people that are closer to this have done this more often. Likely knew that they would not be one of the top 8 seeds.
They got the 9.
Yes, but they would host. So it's like right there at the cusp. But apparently one of the teams that they were kind of battling for that position was Florida. Because interestingly enough, we have Southern Miss up there in both RPI and strength of schedule as well. So no slouches in this conference. But Florida will play host to Troy. Obviously, that's the sunbelt tie-in here. We have the Rider Broncs, not the Broncos, the Broncs, but they do have a horse as their logo/mascot. And then we got an interesting thing. Again, Florida, and then a Florida Regional that includes Florida and the University of Miami. So I think a lot of people are having eyes on that one because of that possible matchup there. But number 1, Florida plays Rider to start, and then Miami plays Troy. That's the 2 and 3 seed in that one. That one's an ACC network game. I believe if you are a subscriber to ESPN Plus, you'll also get it that way. But Marv, quick thoughts, overview, whatever you want to say about the Gainesville Regional and how you're looking at it.
That's a tough one, in my opinion, for Troy to get out of. Florida and Miami are really good baseball teams. But, it's baseball. Anything can happen. I think, best case scenario, they go to the final. But that is a tough regional.
It is a tough one. Let's see. Miami finished with an RPI of 30, strength of schedule of 49. In the ACC, they were 5th with a 16-14 overall record. In the ACC tournament, they beat Stanford and Boston College, then lost to Georgia Tech in the semis. So, not easy, even though they weren't one of the better finishers in the ACC. We'll have to see. Boston College was one of those teams that was kind of in and out of the top 25 a little bit this year. So they're no slouch there. So interesting to see what will happen in that Miami matchup because it is the first one. And I guess technically we don't know any of the other matchups, right? Everything matters or everything transpires from these first results.
Yep. So, winners will play winners, losers play losers in an elimination game. Then the loser of the winner's game plays the winner of the loser game, and that's how you go.
Yeah. Frank is a Troy fan there, and hopefully the bullpen is rested. Loser bracket strained Troy pitching a lot. Yes, they had to throw a lot of arms to get to where they got to in the Sunbelt tournament to make it to this point. But, their performance there, again, they almost took out Southern Miss in that late game. That one, I'm pretty sure that game ended after midnight.
It was late.
It was very late. I remember dozing in and out of sleep. Literally, the Grand Slam home run to win it woke me up. That's how loud the place got. It wasn't even full ballpark or anything, but it was loud enough to wake me out of sleep. So interesting to see there. Again, just to kind of give you what Troy was looking at, they had a RPI of 35, a strength of schedule of 8, one of the toughest strength of schedule profiles in the entire field. Again, that is probably what helped propel Troy to get to this point with a record that some people were questioning. You got to go look deeper than just the record in numbers. You got to go see who they played to have that happen. And they got a lot of respect for scheduling very tough. That's kind of the opposite at what we see at number 3 from the Sunbelt standings, where App State didn't necessarily schedule very tough, or at least it didn't happen to be the tougher teams this year when it came down to it. And so there's a big difference there about why Troy was further down in the Sunbelt standings, but ended up in this field, and App State did not. But again, like Marv said, some of that also is how they performed in the tournament itself. Any notes on Rider? Don't have anything crazy on Rider. RPI of 119, strength of schedule of 271. They are obviously the weakest contender.
Yeah, obviously, they won their conference tournament.
Yeah. Yep. They are the MAC in the MAAC spelling version champion. And they earned the title And they were also regular season champs at 22-8. But again, they come from the MAC. We'll see what they do in this one. We'll see. But yeah, tough one to come out of. I think if you had to put it in order, would you go Florida, Miami, Troy, Rider?
I think the seeding probably has it correct. Yes.
Yeah, I think if you had to say it, probably exactly like Frank said. If the bullpen and the arms took a lot to get here, it's going to be tough to keep up with teams that maybe didn't have to throw as much, or just have deeper rosters because they have more money to play with. We'll see.
There you go.
Yeah. Even though we do consider ourselves one of the best conferences, we are aware that the ACC and SEC do have more money for their baseball rosters.
Yes, they do.
That's not a secret. All right, this is the Sunbelt host, the lone Sunbelt host out of the 5, Hattiesburg, where Southern Miss is the number 1 seed. They will host in-state rival Jacksonville State. Sorry, I guess there's so many teams that have similar names, or they just otherwise get known as Jack State. Little Rock, who used to be in the Sunbelt, and then Virginia, which will be. I mean, this is a very tough regional for a host team to be rewarded with, quote unquote. There, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville State's probably a very underrated baseball team, and then Virginia, obviously, App State connection, right? David Pollard's the head coach there. Left App, went to Duke, now at Virginia. I actually think that this is a good matchup for Southern Miss. I'm not saying they're not going to lose a game, but if you were to rank like the 5 teams and like highest probability of getting out, I think this is a good one for Southern Miss to get out of.
Yeah, I mean, playing at home is definitely going to help, right? The Pete is known as one of the best places, not just in the Sun Belt, but in college baseball in general. And like we said, there is a reason why Southern Miss is hosting a RPI of 12, strength of schedule of 35, which probably took a hit in the Sun Belt tournament, to be totally honest. It's probably higher before they had to play a couple teams that were lower down. But they were the regular season champs as well as the conference champs, as we now know. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens to Joey Urban. Kyle Morrison playing pretty well there. Their first matchup is Little Rock, which is the number 4 seed in this one. And Little Rock comes in from the Ohio Valley Conference. Maybe a little bit dangerous of a 4 than the first one we talked about. Their RPI is 89. Strength of schedule was 123, though. So, not the toughest of opponents. Just
strategically looking at it, right? So I think Southern Miss has a little bit of an easier game than either Jacksonville or Virginia. So I'm saying they coast, right? You still got to play good. It's a regional. They earn, Little Rock earned their way there, but are they a little less fatigued bullpen wise going into the second game than the winner of the Jacksonville Virginia game? Just my thought process. And then for someone, and not saying it's one team, but like for them to lose twice at home, I don't know. I think they advance, and I think I'm hoping that things go right and they get to host the Super.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. That would be really cool if they got to do that. We know that they've done that once before, where Applebee's came into play, because they don't have an Applebee's, and apparently, if you don't have an Applebee's, you can't host a Super or a regional at all. Those are the rules.
Very low.
But yes, you remember that?
Yes, but those are very low standards.
Yeah, they are very low standards. Virginia comes in number 2, RPI of 26, strength of schedule of 16. So they're no joke there from the ACC. They did, however, finish 8th in the regular season with a 14-16 record within the ACC. They got to the conference tournament, won in the opener versus Duke, who was not as good as a typical Duke team has been over the past couple of years. Then they lost to Georgia Tech in the quarterfinals. Jacksonville State, again, presents an interesting aspect here. Conference USA player and contender, RPI of 25, so just 1 point higher in RPI than Virginia, which is interesting. But their strength of schedule is quite a bit lower at 112. And obviously, playing in Conference USA is going to have those issues. They did finish the regular season 23-7 there and did win the title in the tournament by beating Liberty 6-2 in the championship game. So
hey, and Liberty got in. I could honestly see Jacksonville State beating Virginia.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me.
I would be perfectly fine with that. Down with the ACC, man. We'll see if it happens. I mean, like I said, I would love it. All right, so let's put it in order here then. I'm sticking with you. I think I'm going Southern Miss number 1 here.
Yep.
And Little Rock 4, and then a flip of the coin in the middle.
It is.
I would trust a team that played a tougher schedule throughout the season, maybe to like rebound from a possible loss. So I'm going to say I would think that it would be harder for Virginia to lose twice than it would be for Jacksonville State to lose twice. So I'll say USM, Virginia, Jack State, Little Rock is my order.
I'm just going to flip 2 and 3.
Okay. Makes sense. I think that's pretty good. And hopefully that comes to fruition because, as you said, maybe we get a super regional host with Southern Miss moving on after that. All right, the Starkville Regional, not Starksville. There's a lot of people out there that mispronounce that, but it's Starkville Regional. Mississippi State is the host. We've got the Ragin' Cajuns. I got all my stuff. Oh, Marv, we got koozies too. So there you go.
Those are pretty sweet.
Yeah, and Lady of Lords, their big sponsor for their football field too, is on the other side of that. But yeah, baseball on a koozie. That's pretty sweet. All right, so Mississippi State, the Cajuns of Louisiana. The L there, for those that don't recognize that, because I'll be honest, I know the name better than I recognize the logo. I did not recognize the logo at all. That's Lipscomb. Yeah. And I can't even tell you where that is. I know I've looked it up before. I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
I'm going to find it out for you really quick because you've got me interested.
I know, right? The last one, a lot more iconic of a logo there, the Cincinnati Bearcats. I don't really know them as a baseball school myself, but, at least this year, they're pretty dang good. Artie Cat chiming in saying it is a tough regional here for Louisiana to make it out of. And, I think anytime you go to an SEC's home field and one in Mississippi State that people talk about as being one of the best baseball places to play because of the atmosphere. Yeah. Going to be a little tough.
Lipscomb's in Nashville, by the way.
Nashville. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably should have known that.
I actually like this regional for the Cajuns.
Really?
I do. I could easily see them playing Mississippi State for the championship.
I will tell you this. Nothing should scare the Cajuns with how they finished the tournament.
Yeah.
The regular season, really, too. Beating Coastal. I think, what did they beat Coastal 4 times, right? Is that what it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris chiming in saying, we used to the noise. Yeah, they are. And so that will be something that probably does not scare them at all. And so we'll see what happens. Mississippi State, the 1, Lipscomb, the 4. So those 2 teams will face off. Louisiana will actually get Cincinnati first in this regional here. And let's see, the RPI for the SEC team was 13 and the strength of schedule of 7. Yeah. Cincinnati actually comes in with an RPI of 22, strength of schedule of 39. They finished 6th in the Big 12, though, just 17 and 13 overall, lost to Arizona State in the quarterfinal round of the Big 12 tournament. Louisiana finishes, meanwhile, with an RPI of 33, a strength of schedule of 38. So, again, very close to Cincinnati when you look at it in that fashion. And then Lipscomb, RPI of 155, strength of schedule of 195, easily kind of like that first regional we talked about, the weakest team in here, at least by numbers. But we've seen some of these teams come up and surprise, at least in a game or two, right?
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, I see – the Swami, right, looking into the crystal ball. I see Cajuns taking care of Cincinnati in the first game. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see. I think the Cajuns are just rolling. They're hot right now. I know they didn't get the ending that they wanted, but the good news for them is by the end of that game, they started heating back up again, right? And yeah, you probably don't take momentum over from like that long of a layoff or anything like that, but you do keep in mind that we were performing pretty well. Right? Like it wasn't like we couldn't hit anything that day. The pitching wasn't working that well. I mean, you played one of the best teams in the country in Southern Miss in a tournament where they didn't have to play as many games as you did, right? Cajuns came in from the first 4 and made it to the championship game. So yeah,
the Cajuns are playing with house money, and happen to be a pretty darn good baseball team on top of that. So I think they could be dangerous in this regional. I'm not calling them to make it out, but calling them to make the championship.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That would be a good time. Again, as many teams as we can keep going, that would be awesome. Obviously, we're all cheering for that. And I think, again, unless you have a pure hatred for one of these other teams, most Sunbelt teams are rooting for the other Sunbelt teams. Again, this helps strengthen the thought process.
Yeah.
Oh, they're one of the best conferences. They have some of the best teams. And interestingly enough, one of our best teams and our best team from last year who made it to the national championship, Coastal Carolina, winds up in the Tallahassee Regional, where Florida State is the host. We also have the Northern Illinois Huskies and the SJ. That's got to be one of the worst logos in all sports. I'm sorry. St. John's.
Yeah, that is a terrible logo. Whoever they paid to creatively design that should be fired.
Yeah.
So this one's interesting to me because if you look at St. John, you look at Northern Illinois, and you're like, I don't think they're going to be that good. But then you got to remember that Coastal was absolutely stumbling over themselves to get into this regional. Tallahassee's a hard place to play baseball. Florida State's a good baseball team, but it wouldn't shock me to see the two teams on the top battling it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of those things where, they didn't play great down the stretch, but they do have the talent that could wake up at any moment. The problem is you need to wake it up now. You can't afford to, you keep fighting your way back. At some point, the fight is going to end because you waited too long to get up to speed. So we'll have to see if that's how they can rebound in this one. Florida State plays St. John's first. Coastal does have Northern Illinois. So Florida State, RPI of 8, strength of schedule of 5. They finished third in the regular season, lost to Pitt in the quarterfinal round of the ACC tournament. Coastal, as we know, RPI 27, strength of schedule of 27 in the end. Conference finish was second, which, just barely edged out there by Southern Miss because of dropping that game against, the series against Louisiana, and then obviously lost to Louisiana more times in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. Northern Illinois comes from the MAC, the MAC spelling, 78 RPI, strength of schedule just 218. So not a tough schedule, not a tough run there for the MAC tournament champions. They were in the upper third or fourth grouping in the standings table. I guess they finished 21-13 overall in the regular season. They beat Toledo 5-1 to clinch their first MAC championship. So there is another thing that's going to be on Coastal's side here. This is a team with no experience in the postseason. Exactly. So that is a good draw for them, even though St. John's comes in with a worse RPI and a also relatively low strength of schedule at 165. They did tie for first in the Big East in the regular season and then won the championship against Creighton, who Creighton did beat Coastal Carolina last year in just regular season play. So not a huge deal, but it did happen, just of note. Marv, you go first this time. What's your order here for the Tallahassee Regional?
Florida State, Coastal, and then just flip a coin for those two. Like I said, the bottom half of this regional is probably the easier bottom half of any regional that one of our teams is in. But the top team in this regional is pretty darn good.
The top team is very good. I unfortunately am going to have to agree with you. We were ride or die with Coastal last year. I would gladly do it again. Again, as many teams as we can get through, but Florida State's tough and they're playing at home. So I'm going to say Florida State 1, Coastal 2. I'm going to say St. John's 3 because they have a little bit more experience and a little bit more history of being here. And the newcomer in NIU, I don't think you're going to perform all that well. So we'll see if that's what happens in the end or not in the Tallahassee Regional. And then we have one last final bid for the NCAA tournament. That is the College Station Regional, where we'll see Texas State, who gets in their last Sun Belt season, their last Sun Belt sport. I mean, I think technically now that they've made the regional, it certainly will be their latest sport into the summer, right? I mean, I don't think anything else goes longer. Maybe track.
Maybe, but man,
maybe.
That's a tough regional. That one's hard.
I was looking at this and I was like, good God, they're like, yeah, you made it in. We're just going to give you like one of the toughest regions that exist.
Yeah, USC is a good team, and then Texas A&M. I mean, you want to talk about a team that got hot late. Texas A&M. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm not going to fact check myself, but Texas A&M started off very highly rated. Did not perform well during the middle of the season, but man, they put together a heck of a last month or 5 weeks and are playing kind of like Southern Miss or in Louisiana, like playing phenomenal baseball. And that is not an easy place to go play baseball.
No, but when Texas
A&M hadn't been there before.
Yep. When they were number 1, they went in there. Texas State did just last season and beat them in College Station. So there is some history on their side, some experience on their side. I obviously don't know exactly how many were on that roster when that happened and are still there now, but I would assume there's at least a handful of them. So Texas A&M, the 1, they will face Lamar, the number 4 in this one. To start with, USC versus Texas State. That's the 2-3 matchup. Texas State, the 3 in that one. A&M, RPI 14, strength of schedule 17. They finished 3rd in the SEC, and they lost to Auburn in the quarterfinal round of the SEC tournament. USC, as weird as it is and as weird as it sounds to say, is in a Big Ten nowadays, as stupid as that is. RPI of 9 and a strength of schedule of 37, tied for 3rd in the Big Ten. Beat Michigan State in the quarterfinal round, but lost to UCLA, who we know is a pretty damn good team in the semis. And then Texas State, we know what they did in the conference tournament, just continuing to win and fighting their way back until Louisiana finally took them out. Lamar is in the Southland. They have an RPI of 90, strength of schedule 117. That's kind of like an App State, kind of somewhat similar.
That's I won my conference tournament special right there.
Yes, they did win the Southland Conference. They were 2nd in the Southland in the regular season. So interesting that they did win that. But yeah, they're probably the weakest team in there, but they're not like one of these other weak teams that we talked about, like they're barely able to make the field. But we'll see what can happen. Some interesting things here. I think I have a couple other notes on one of these pages here. Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to blow you away here. But Coastal Carolina, as weak of a finish as they had, they do still have a strong profile from the regular season that they had. They got tested in Montgomery, and then now they draw a champion of another league. But I guess in a good way, that's that NIU team that we talked about. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens there. Any other just overall thoughts on these teams, what we're going to see? I don't know if you want to talk about any other regionals that you've paid attention. I'll say this. The one thing that I was hoping was, and it's not going to work out because I'm going to be out of town anyway. I was really hoping that one of our teams would end up in the Chapel Hill Regional because it looked like UNC was going to be a host. And then I was like, you know what? I honestly don't want that to happen because I'm not even going to be here. And then I'll be kicking myself that like the one time that we get somebody here for at least at least 2 games, maybe 3. And I'm not even going to be around to enjoy it. So I'm also kind of glad that nobody ended up here because there was Coastal was looking as a possibility a couple days ago to possibly end up in the Chapel Hill Regional. But it didn't happen. So I don't have to feel bad about missing out.
And they beat Chapel Hill and Chapel Hill this year.
That's true. When Chapel Hill was number 2 in the nation too.
You want to play a fun game real quick before you wrap up?
I do.
1 to 5. 1 being the easiest or most likely to advance, 5 being the hardest and least likely to advance.
Oh, man.
I've been thinking about it all show, so I've got mine ready to go if you want me to give you a little time to think about it.
Yeah, give me a little time, but I like this.
Okay, so number 1, Southern Miss. Number 2, I'm going to go Cajuns. Number 3, Coastal. Number 4, Troy. And number 5, Texas State. And that is not based on do I think Texas State's the worst team of ours that got in. It's just I think they got the worst draw.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to make sure I'm not going to like do the same order as you. I'm not at the top. I think I am, but
Yeah, no, Southern. I mean, they're hosting, right? So, and the toughest
Right.
competition they're going to have is Virginia.
Yeah. While I think about that, I'll share Frank's comment here again. A fitting farewell gift on their way out to the back. That the Bobcats honestly step up really well against other big Texas names historically. That is true. Artie Cat says, quick question. Have y'all heard about the family murdered in Boone in the 70s? Maybe before, but not like off the top of my head. I don't know who that would be. So you can tell us that story while I give you my rundown of my 5. You said 1 to 5, so you started at the top, right?
Yeah, one being like the most likely or quote unquote easy, as we all know it's not going to be easy, but like 1 being you're most likely to advance, 5 being the least likely or they just got the toughest straw.
Southern Miss. I'll stick with you. Playing at home, you've got to think that should bode well for them, being regular season and conference tournament champions as well. I think Coastal got a really tough draw against Florida State. I don't think the rest of that group is all that difficult, but in my heart of hearts, I cannot see them coming out. So I don't think I'm going to have them at 2.
I didn't have them at 2. Before.
Yeah, you had Louisiana at 2, right?
Yes, which, listen, Mississippi State's not going to be easy, but
the likelihood that could happen seems more likely than Coastal beating Florida State.
I honestly, I flip-flopped those 2 in my head like the entire show. I could have gone the other way. Coastal, we know what they can do. Fluky could pitch a game against Florida State and look like the guy, right?
Yeah.
He is the guy. But you never know, just with the Cajuns being hot and the Chanticleers struggling, that kind of was like the tiebreaker for me.
That's a good one. And if you had any doubt that Morrison was the guy, go back and watch the first game. I think it was the first game that they played in the tournament with all the scouts. That's I said how no one's behind the plate. There was people behind the plate, and they were all taking notes and having radars out and cameras. So he's definitely the guy. He may be struggling a little bit back from injury and whatever, not fully up to regular pitch speed and all that. What?
Morrison.
Oh, sorry, Fluky. Yeah. Fluky.
Oh, dude, when he pitched against the App, his I think I texted you. I was like, that dude's breaking ball is just absolutely filthy.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even in the tournament, they slowed it down once, and I was like, ooh, that's nasty stuff. So Destiny jumping in saying she's late, but 5 bid sunbelt. I'll be honest. I was a non-believer for a while, but you love to see it. We were non-believers too. I don't think
Destiny.
We said 2, maybe lucky to get 3. And then we started saying maybe 4 here. I had all 5 graphics up ready before the tournament field was announced. I went ahead and made one for Texas State and Troy going, maybe one, there's not both. They all made it. And I gladly made all of them ahead of time. I had them ready to roll. All I was filling in was the rest of the regional field that they were going to be in with. And so that was pretty fun. It was kind of crazy. I'm like doing all this on my phone. My wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just getting a couple posts out, but it takes a little bit of time to put all that together. Desi says she needs the Cajuns to beat the Bulldogs and Southern Miss versus Troy Super. Like, I need water. That would be incredible to see those 2 teams match up again. Yeah, there was a little heat between them when they finished up.
Yeah, well, going back to the 5. So,
yeah,
by the end of the tournament, I knew it was going to be 3, right? I'm trying. His wife and son in map season was Dixie.
Yeah, Dixie Ma. I haven't heard of that.
Oh man,
thought maybe it was something that would ring a bell for me, but nope.
I need to see the documentary, Artie. Tell us where it's at and where we can tell us the name and where we can find it. I know.
Yeah, he said he'll send it to us, and if it's really good, then we'll send it out to everybody to watch.
But no, Texas State getting in, like I was like, okay, wow, we got 4. And then when I saw that Troy got in, I was flabbergasted.
Yeah, I just figured in my heart of hearts, one of the 2 would get in, the other one wouldn't. That's just what I figured.
I wasn't even thinking Troy at the end of the tournament, honestly.
Jesse says, Frank, I call truce if you could see this. Oh, man, once we get a Trojans and Super, then we must untruce. Okay, yeah. That makes more sense. All right, so getting back to my 5, I started with Southern Miss. I said I did not trust Coastal to get it done versus Florida State, just not right now. But I will agree with you. I think Louisiana, mainly, not just because I'm wearing the stuff, the way that they've looked by the eye test and their performances overall, like I feel like they're getting hot at the right time. They had that slump at the beginning of the season, but they've played a lot better, earned their way into the top 25 with it as well. And just got a lot of players that are playing extremely well right now.
Yeah.
And so I think I will go with them as number 2. So we have the same top 2 so far, but you went Coastal 3, I believe, right?
I did go Coastal 3. Yeah, just because they have 2 lower teams there, and I think Troy and Texas State got some bad draws.
Yeah, I am going to switch it up, though. Texas State is in their last season in the Sun Belt. How much does that play into, like, we want to go out as best we can, or just, like, in general, everyone's going to think that? So I don't know how much that plays into it, but I have to think, like, they aren't intimidated by going into College Station because of that experience we talked about. So I'm going to put Texas State at 3, actually. Ooh. They're not leaving the state of Texas for this. They probably want to say, like, hey, we didn't get the run in the Sunbelt Conference tournament that we wanted. We're going to go out here and prove it now. I know that they had some heat with UTSA in one of their previous matchups. I think they want to get to as far as they can in this tournament to say, yeah, we're here. We're going to prove it. So I'm going to go Texas State 3. That leaves Troy and Coastal. And that's tough. Oh, man. I guess – I'll go Troy, and I'll put Coastal last.
Ooh, okay.
I just don't see Coastal beating Florida State.
Don't like the Florida State matchup.
I don't like the Florida State matchup. I just don't think they can get by it. Not with how they're currently. Now, hopefully, I'm wrong and they surprise. And we'll probably get all kinds of heat if people from Coastal are paying attention to this. But I can't get over that one. That one's one of the best teams in the whole field, and you're playing at their home.
Yeah,
tough. All right, man. Any last notes you want to share before we get? How's the boys' baseball going?
Regular season Little League is over. Logan made his all-star team, so he's in
nice.
All-star prep right now. Mason has his all-star tryout tomorrow. They both have travel ball tournaments this weekend, and we can just kiss our man June goodbye.
Oh man, yeah. Baseball season is here and in full swing, huh?
But it was hot tonight. That was a hot practice.
Yeah, I was like screwing around over here just off camera. We have a little setup where we have like floor hockey because my son's a hockey guy, and like it's not heated or cooled down here. It's just whatever. But man, just a little bit of action, and I was sweating like crazy. Like, dang, man, now I got to shower again tonight.
It was about 91 degrees, and obviously with all the rain we've had, it was so humid, and it was
it is nasty.
Yeah, it was one of those like you're out there for 15 minutes and you just look like you ran through a sprinkler.
Yep, I saw a guy walking this morning just soaking wet. You know, usually it's like, oh, it's nice and cool in the morning to start off with. Nope, not today. Nasty and humid. All right, that will wrap it up for us, and let's hope we get 5 teams to move on to Super. It'd be amazing if we got 3. I'll take 2. Whatever. Well, just as many as we can get. I'll be happy. Hopefully, one of them's the Cajuns here. Cajun heavy episode this time, and Marv, we'll get you your Cajuns gear.
Please do. I will gladly wear it this weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, we'll see you later. And just to keep an eye on the socials. I don't know what we'll do as the tournament goes on, but we'll definitely be around. So keep an eye out for us, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.